Well, I came into town late last night. We got drunk, had such a good time. Then we smoked something that you got from someone, and man, we were really flying. We went back to your house, sat in those easy chairs, of course, too much to belong to you. And you built us a fire, and as the flames got higher, I sat next and talked to you. Exactly what we said slips my mind just now is about somebody we had known. It was your friend alone, fell asleep in the corner. I started thinking about going home, but what would Brando do? What would Brando do? What would Brando do? Yes, now, I remember we went into the kitchen, my stomach was growling like a lion. Started talking about how long we'd known each other, how now it was a very long time. I put my hands in my pocket, I shuffled across the floor, kicking out the dirt with my shoes, till the feeling overtook me, nearly knocked me over. There was something I had to say to you. I said, baby, I know for some time now there's some very special things you do. I can't deny it, I won't child, oh baby, I love you. But what would Brando do? What would Brando do? What would Brando do? Well, we looked at each other for some long, hard looks. You looked like I threw you for a loop. You said you've been reading my newspaper a long time now, but you never expected such a scoop. Then we held hands and smiled those smiles that say much more than words can say. And the roof opened up and the sun shone through, and the bluebirds were flying our way. There was light in the forest and the rivers ran clear, and the lion and the lamb was best friends. Then a tear came to your eye to tell me something, nearly knocked me off my feet again. What would Brando do? What would Brando do? What would Brando do? Well, you bent your head, you gave me a sidelong glance, you stared at the floor, and then you turned to the left, you put your elbow on the counter, you turned back to me again. You said, remember that night we drove to the airport with you and your best friend? Well, that same night when we got home, I jumped into bed with him. I know it don't mean nothing, I know I'm not sorry, and you shouldn't be so insecure, but I was curious, a woman of the world, and I couldn't keep a secret no more. What would Brando do? What would Brando do? What would Brando do? Yeah, I remember that night, it's very clear in my mind. A lot of fine words were said between you and him, and I was ready to explode with jealous thoughts in my head. Till I finally spit out something to that effect. I was feeling so awfully bad, and I was quickly reassured it could never happen. He was the best friend I had. He put his hand on my shoulder and said, man, I'm your buddy, that's something I would never do. He smiled and said, there are things that are sacred, I'd never be a snake to you. What would Brando do? What would Brando do? What would Brando do? Come on, Mike, play. Probably imagine this whole thing had me shaking. I didn't know what to do. I was on my way over to take care of this business, but before I could get through, I ran into the professor. We discussed the whole matter, how I had 2 shots I could call. I could try my best to break both his arms, or I could transcend it all. And after we discussed who I should get to help me or how I should pretend that I don't know, just before I slipped out the door, he said these words, you know, said, what would Brando do? What would Brando do? What would Brando do? I'm sure you're curious to know what Floyd did go and how the whole thing was resolved. If things were made right, if things were left wrong with the various conversations involved. Did I ever get back to my sweetheart again? Did we have no more words to say? With my self-confessed friend, was it silence or violence? Is he still my buddy today? I don't want to make you hanging, I don't want to leave you nervous, and I don't want to drive you to drink. You gotta use your imagination, but don't make it real easy. All you gotta do is think, what would Brando do? What would Brando do? What would Brando do? What would Brando do? Yeah, yeah, yeah.